News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Controversy still swirls around the special ballot. Good morning, everyone. This is Montana Morning, Tuesday, April 11, 2017. Right now, the sky is mostly clear. We have 25 degrees in Missoula. Our newscast this morning is sponsored by Bullseye Wear, Missoula's only certified master optician. They're over on South Reserve, just down the street from us, the old R.P. Ellis location, online at bullseyemt.com. One of our top stories this morning, while the state legislature and federal courts continue to toss a turn over whether or not to have polling places for the upcoming special congressional election and which name should be on the ballot, Missoula County Elections Coordinator Rebecca Connors has to make tough decisions now on how the election will proceed in less than 7 weeks. With all the uncertainty in the air, Connors said the plan at this point is to go on with the ballots as they are, to plan on polling places being open.
We're feeling a little bit like a political football right now, but we're rolling with the punches. We received a notification over the weekend that whether it's mail or a polling place election, we're still moving forward with a polling place election. If it ends up being a mail-a-ballot election, we can adapt to that if it's at a certain point. But we're just kind of in flux right now.
Governor Steve Bullock recently added language to a bill that would give counties a choice on whether or not to have their polling places closed this election. Connor says if given the choice, Missoula County would choose to have a mail-in ballot only. However, that legislative football can only be tossed for so long before the clock runs out.
We need it sometime probably the week of the 17th. It depends on a county-by-county level. That week, around the 17th, we are starting to prepare what is our mailing list for our absentee voters. And so we need to be able to know whether at that point, whether it's a poll or a mail ballot election.
Republicans who currently control both the House and the Senate have the power to decide when bills come up for a hearing. Many expect that House and Senate leaders will simply delay a vote on the issue until after next week, at which point the governor's attempt at changing the election process will simply die as election officers across the state run out of time to change it. Montana Green Party candidate Thomas Breck's name is not on the ballot sent out to military and overseas voters yesterday for the special election. However, Breck is still optimistic he can get on the next batch. A decision late Saturday by District Court Judge Brian Morse agreed with Breck's original complaint that the requirement of over 14,000 signatures in just 6 days was unreasonable. Even though Morris dropped the threshold to only 400, Breck still believes the ruling is unfair and has appealed to a higher court.
It didn't give us a pathway forward, considering the amount of time and effort that goes into a campaign to get 14,000 signatures. It takes weeks and weeks to plan before you even attempt to get signature one. Giving us only 6 days and then faulting us for not getting any signatures with the expectation of 14,000 being in place seems unreasonable, so we've appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court.
Breck says he thinks he'll win the Ninth Circuit Court, and he has proof from over the weekend that the 400 signatures would have been easily attainable if that were the original threshold.
The whole premise for the 400 signatures was to show that there's a modicum of support for us, considering that we got well over 500 signatures in one day on a Sunday when we didn't even start until 3 o'clock because we couldn't locate a notary. The fact that we were able to get that many signatures shows that we do have a modicum of support and that we do deserve a place on the ballot.
Breck said the Montana Green Party gathered around 10 signatures during the initial filing because the 14,000 goal seemed insurmountable for a startup candidate. No matter what happens to the ballot, though, Breck says he'll continue as a write-in candidate. The Montana legislature is one vote away from passing a bill to change the disclosure requirements for chemicals used in energy production. The measure passed an initial House vote 70-30 yesterday. It faces a final vote before it goes to Democratic Governor Steve Bullock. A pending lawsuit is challenging the current Montana rule, allowing companies to conceal the ingredients of chemicals they use during hydraulic fracturing or fracking. The bill would require energy companies to disclose the chemicals they use to the Montana Oil and Gas Conservation Board. Republican Senator Todd Richmond of Billings said the measure is based on a Wyoming model. Last Friday, the Montana legislature passed Senate Resolution 15, stating they will not tolerate the unconstitutional content of Rule 8.4G of the American Bar Association. The rule would authorize the Supreme Court to suspend or disbar an attorney if they engage in certain restriction, free speech, or freely exercise his or her religion. State Senator Dave Howard authored the resolution.
The legislature is the only branch of government which may enact legislation, period. It is unacceptable to allow out-of-touch special interest groups to try to come into our state and circumvent the Constitution to enact their radical agenda. This resolution stands up for our citizens' right to free speech and the separation of powers. We will not allow legislating from the bench in Montana.
The House and Senate passed the resolution, and copies have been sent to the President, the Vice President, and to Congress. Montana Governor Bullock has signed 4 bills meant to protect children who are in the state's foster care system. All 4 bills are the result of the work of a commission appointed by the governor to review the state's Division of Child and Family Services, which is dealing with a record number of children in foster care. One of the bills sets deadlines to speed up cases that concern youth in need of care. Another appoints a guardian to protect the interests of an abused child in court proceedings. The third bill requires the state health department to ensure foster parents allow children to participate in activities that are appropriate for their age and development. The final bill would allow state and federal lawmakers to review child welfare records. You're faced with a suicidal person or someone with a mental illness or suffering from PTSD. What do? Local and visiting law enforcement personnel are undergoing crisis intervention training all this week at the National Guard Armory. Crisis Intervention Team Coordinator Ben Slater, a detective with the Missoula Police Department, is helping to facilitate the training all this week.
Oftentimes our first responders encounter folks within our community who are in a state of escalated crisis. This class specifically focuses on those with a mental health need, whether it's a mental health diagnosis, an individual with a traumatic brain injury, or someone with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Slater describes the training being provided.
It helps give these line officers, social workers, detention officers, and other folks the skills and abilities try to bring that individual out of crisis so that they can start directing them to services here within our Missoula community.
And finally, the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore now has names for its 2 grizzly bear cubs that came to the zoo from Montana. The zoo said in a statement that the orphan bear sisters are now Nova and Nita. The zoo says Nova is a Native American word that means chasing butterflies, while Nita means bear. Yeah, over 6,000 people voted on the bears' names. The bears were found last year trying to survive in the wild without their mother, and they were captured after it was clear one cub was failing. A veterinarian discovered the smaller of the cubs had been shot, and it was treated. The cub's mother was later found with shotgun wounds to her face and was euthanized. The cubs arrived at the Maryland Zoo back in December. Our news talk time now is 6:12.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly sunny skies today with our high temperatures topping out in the mid-50s. Increasing clouds tonight with our overnight lows dropping into the mid-30s. Scattered rain and snow showers on Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.